Social works, 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 yeah, S works, everyone put it in their hands. You know it's a vibe, they're waiting in line to get up and flood up the stands. Yeah, we in this together, we feeling like fam, it's all about peace, so pull up with friends. You better come through with you and your crew, cause everybody going in. S works, so we keep it lit. You can see how we move the city from the west side to the east. Ooh, you can feel it how we leave through. It's all about the youth. Change the world through the tunes. Make the world to a better place. And S works what we do.
Social works, social works, social works, social, social works, social works, social works. Social works. Keep my family out the dirt. This organization, we stopping no Satan and open, but we call it Works. Action and Taylor, the killer verse. I do on my family, my city hurt. They killing our babies, this war going crazy. I pray for my city to reimburse. Private schools for the kiddies. We the city, yeah, we litty. All I know is it's work. With the heart, keep it busy. Know the life can be tricky, but please just let me finish. Let me just be a witness. S works, handle business.
Social works, social works, social works, social. Social works, social works, social works.
Ready or not, here we come. South side, west side, east side, north side. Up on the run, we ain't for the none. We came in the party, we here for the fun. Celebrate life, the party we young. Sky is the limit, we looking above. We up in the sun, no matter what, we stay on the run. Ha, S work, do your thing. S work, keep it lit. Bullseye, keep your aim. Yeah, we up on the jib. North side, that's the way. Ready or not, here we come. S work, keep the energy. Look, yeah, we never unplug. S work, show some love. Yeah.
Social works, social works, social works, social, social works, social works, social works. Social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works. Yeah, S works, everyone put it in their hands. You know it's a vibe, they're waiting in line to get up and flood up the stands. Yeah, we in this together, we feeling like fam, it's all about peace, so pull up with friends. You better come through with you and your crew, cause everybody going in. S works, so we keep it lit. You can see how we move the city from the west side to the east. Ooh, you can feel it how we leave through. It's all about the youth. Change the world through the tunes. Make the world to a better place. And S works what we do.
Social works, social works, social works, social, social works, social works, social works. Social works. Keep my family out the dirt. This organization, we stopping no Satan and open, but we call it Works. Action and Taylor, the killer verse. I do on my family, my city hurt. They killing our babies, this war going crazy. I pray for my city to reimburse. Private schools for the kiddies. We the city, yeah, we litty. All I know is it's work. With the heart, keep it busy. Know the life can be tricky, but please just let me finish. Let me just be a witness. S works, handle business.
Social works, social works, social works, social, social works, social works, social works.
Ready or not, here we come. South side, west side, east side, north side. Up on the run, we ain't for the none. We came in the party, we here for the fun. Celebrate life, the party we young. Sky is the limit, we looking above. We up in the sun, no matter what, we stay on the run. Ha, S work, do your thing. S work, keep it lit. Bullseye, keep your aim. Yeah, we up on the jib. North side, that's the way. Ready or not, here we come. work, keep the energy. Look, yeah, we never unplug. SWork, show some love.
Social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works. Social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works. Yeah, S works. Everyone put it in their hands. You know it's a vibe. They're waiting in line to get up and flood up the stands. Yeah, we in this together. We feeling like fam. It's all about peace. So pull up with friends. You better come through with you and your crew, cause everybody going in. S works, so we keep it lit. You can see how we move the city from the west side to the east. Ooh, you can feel it how we leave through. It's all about the youth. Change the world through the tunes. Make the world to a better place. Saying S works, what we do.
Social works, social works, social works, social works, social works. Keep my family out the dirt. This organization, we stopping no Satan and open mic, we call it SWorks. Action on Taylor, the killer verses. I do my family, my city hurt. They killing our babies, this war going crazy. I pray for my city to reimburse. Private schools for the kids. We the city, yeah, we litty. All I know is it's work. Work hard, keep it busy. Know the life can be tricky, but please just let me finish. Let me just be a witness. SWorks handle business.
Social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works.
Ready or not, here we come. South side, west side, east side, north side. Up on the run, we ain't for the none. We came in the party, we here for the fun. Celebrate life, the party we young. Giants the limit, we looking above. We up in the sun, no matter what, we stay on the run. Ha, SWork, do your thing. SWork, keep it lit. Bullseye, keep your aim. Yeah, we up on the jib. North side, that's the way. Ready or not, here we come. SWork, keep the energy. Look, yeah, we never unplug. SWork, show some love.
Social works, social works.
SWorkshops are a series of online workshops featuring the many incredibly talented friends of SocialWorks. This series aims to inspire and educate, bringing local and national creatives live to your smartphone. They will be sharing and teaching specific aspects of their craft. A wide variety of professions, interests, and hobbies are represented within our curriculum. Did we mention it's a fundraiser too? The stay-at-home notice has students wondering what's to come. For some, graduation and prom will both be canceled. This campaign will directly fundraise a celebration event for those students within the Chicagoland area. Once it's safe, of course. Tune in to any of our socials for one or all of the SWorkshops. You can find the full schedule of programming at socialworksshy.org or on our Instagram. Classes start Monday, April 13th. We'll see you there.
Hey y'all, happy Wednesday. My name is Cassidy and I'm going to be your SWorkshop guide today. SWorkshop is a fundraiser for Social Works Prom Fund, which is going to be a dope opportunity for Chicagoland students to be able to have a prom because, you know, their graduation activities have been canceled. And so I'm really excited to be a part of this. I'm also really nervous, and I say this all the time. I don't know why I'm like this, but I'm excited. So we're going to hop in with the agenda for today. So our agenda. First, I'm going to go over the goals of this workshop, how it's going down, the gist of the workshop, a little bit about me. We'll do a reflection. We'll define and build some understanding about self-love, and then we'll do an exercise addressing and altering our dislikes of self. 3 lessons I've learned during my self-love journey, and then we'll do a share out and Q&A. So, the goal. Number one, to set aside an hour to yourself. Okay, so shout out to you for showing up today. And number two, have a better understanding of self-love. The gist of the workshop is that I'm going to be going through a series of slides, obviously, and we'll have a reflection and an exercise. You can feel free to ask questions throughout, and I'll keep monitoring them via Slido. And next, a little bit about me. So, yes, I know this is one of my favorite picks, but I'm Cassidy, like I said. I wanted to kind of give you all a gist of a little bit about me. So at the top, you'll see all the places that I've lived. Obviously, I'm from the south side of Chicago, so I wanted to put a Chicago outline of the skyline. I lived in North Carolina. That's where I attended school. And then the area on the far, I guess, right, is Japan, which is where I studied abroad and for 4 months, and that had a huge impact on my life. Moving down to a little bit about my education, I went to Kenwood Academy in Hyde Park. I attended Elon University for undergrad and studied strategic communications, as well as leadership studies in African and African American studies. And I recently just received my master's in integrated marketing communication from Northwestern University. To get a little bit deeper, everybody knows I'm into astrology. I am a Cancer, and if you've ever seen this graphic before, that's what I embody. I am a true Cancer through and through. I'm also an empath. A lot of people don't know what I do, but I actually own my own marketing/creation firm. I haven't really landed exactly what it is, but I do a lot of things, and it's called Hack by Cass. And you're probably wondering why a marketer is leading a self-love workshop. Well, I'm also the creator of 8, a YouTube channel highlighting self-love through the 8 dimensions of wellness. And so you'll learn a little bit more about me throughout this workshop and my thoughts on wellness. But I really want to start by sharing more of my self-love journey. So I've never really liked my body. And it's so weird. A lot of people comment on that and just people have their thoughts about it. But I've never liked my body. And I used to have really bad anxiety where I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I would have these different dreams or these thoughts about myself that were negative. And I'm like, I cannot live this life. Like, I know there has to be something bigger than this and better than this, and I need to address it now. And so I started looking up like how to love your body, and it was like, well, that's the self-love. And so I'm like, what exactly is self-love? Like, I couldn't really figure it out. There are tons of courses and books and things, and everybody has their own definition. So I figured it was time for me to start deciding what self-love meant for me. And so what it really became is the foundation to my personal wellness movement. So that's kind of where I started 8, which is where I kind of just share all the different elements of my wellness movement that are connected to my self-love journey. I feel like I have time on my hands because I work for myself. Like, I have time on my hands to do a lot of research and read a lot of books. And so really one of my passions is kind of consolidating what I've learned and what I've gathered and sharing it with the world. So that's what this is today. I wanted to start with a reflection. And so one of the books that I first read when I started my self-love journey, like full force, was All About Love by Bell Hooks. If you have not read this, y'all know I got a little blurb about it on my IG. You should definitely read this. But I want to read us a part. What I have on the screen is actually just a little glimpse of it. So I'll read an extended part to get us started. Self-love is the foundation of our loving practice. Without it, our other efforts to love fail. Giving ourselves love, we provide our inner being with the opportunity to have the unconditional love we may have always longed to receive from someone else. Whenever we interact with others, the love we give and receive is always necessarily conditional. Although it is not impossible, it is very difficult and rare for us to be able to extend unconditional love to others largely because we cannot exercise control over the behavior of someone else, and we cannot predict or utterly control our response to their actions. We can, however, exercise control over our own actions. We can, however, exercise control over our own actions. We can give ourselves the unconditional love that is the grounding for sustained acceptance and affirmation. We we will When we give this precious gift to ourselves, we are able to reach out to others from a place of fulfillment and not from a place of lack. In an ideal world, we would all learn in childhood to love ourselves. We would grow being secure in our worth and our value, spreading love wherever we went, letting our light shine. If we did not learn self love in our youth, there is still hope. The light of love is always in us, no matter how cold the flame. It is always present, waiting for the spark to ignite, waiting for the heart to awaken and call us back to the first memory of being the life force inside a dark place waiting to be born, waiting to see the light. And I'm on the verge of tears reading that because it just really, that part really got to me. And I'm a note taker. I will write all up and down my books. And that part I'm just like highlighting and underlining because that was it. I could always return to my true natural state of when I was first born and had no influences or opinions placed upon myself and my body. And yeah, that's when things began. And so really, I want you all to think throughout this is what will it take for you to reignite that spark that first existed when you were born, that love that you had for yourself before the media and outside just opinions started influencing the way you felt about yourself. And we'll explore that a little bit more throughout this workshop. Another part of my self-love journey I mentioned before was that I was having some difficulties really, I don't know, figuring out what self-love meant. And so, you have a lot of definitions about things and you're like, is this it? I'm not sure. And so I kind of created my own definitions that I figured I would share with you all. And you can take or leave them. So I wanted to start by talking about self-esteem. The definition that I came up with is the regard at which you hold yourself based on respect and admiration. I came up with this definition because when I looked up the word esteem on Merriam-Webster, it said it comes from the same Latin word that gives us the word estimate, which means to assess or judge the value of something. And so that's kind of how I decided that it's like your estimate of yourself and how you hold yourself based on that. Now moving into self-worth, which I classify as the value you place on yourself based on your self-esteem. And so worth, I again looked at Merriam-Webster. That's what I looked at for everything, I'm going to be honest. And it describes worth as the equivalent of a specified amount or figure. And so I feel like for individuals like ourselves, the standard scale or measurement of the value of a person, it varies person to person. So like your standard of self-worth might be different from my standard of self-worth. But this is just like a simple foundation to look at. Now, self-preservation. And so self-preservation is something I stand by. Like, yeah, I could go all day about this, but I'm defining this as the boundaries you establish to keep your vibrations high and maintain your peace and well-being. And so to preserve, based on Merriam-Webster, means to maintain something in its original or existing state, retain a condition, and keep safe out of harm's way. So it's really about, keeping yourself safe and whatever that means for you. And then self-care, which I really want to touch on self-care, and we're not going to dive too deep into it, but I think a lot of times self-love and self-care get kind of thrown around as if they're equal, but they're very different things. And so they're actually, the way I'm defining it is the acts, routines, rituals, and actions you prioritize as a means to your self-preservation. And the reason why is because, care is defined as the provision of what is necessary for the health, welfare, maintenance, and protection of someone or something. And so what are you doing to preserve yourself those actions, routines, and rituals, are what I'm classifying as self-care. Cool. Now, what is self-love? While we're all here, let's talk about it. I would love for you all to hop into the chat and just kind of throw around some words or your personal definition of what self-love is, and I'll hop into mine. And I'm actually going to take a moment to see if there's any questions. Okay, we're cool. Okay, this is a little graph that I came up with to kind of explain how I define self-love. So to me, self-love is unconditional love. That's kind of what Bell Hooks was talking about and what I read, but it's also something I kept coming back to when I was trying to define self-love for myself. And self-love, unconditional love is love that doesn't have conditions. So that's not subject to conditions, special terms, limitations, and or reservations. And that is very vague, but we'll leave it where it is. Love without conditions brings about true bliss, and bliss is complete happiness, which I think we're all deserving of. While we can hope to receive unconditional love from someone someday, the truth is we really can't receive that unconditional love until we apply it to ourselves. And unconditional love is self-love. So that makes sense. And the truth is that a lot of times our love for ourselves does have conditions. And a lot of times it started way back in our childhood through a variety of reasons, and it continues on to adulthood, but we can still we can overcome that. I truly believe that. And that's something that we're going to start workshopping through today. So yeah, I now want to move into this next part and talk more about like why self-love is important. So I think self-love is important because it benefits everyone, but what's key is that you do it for you. So your self-love journey should never be because, oh, I want the love in return from somebody else. No, it should be, I want to feel so good that if the love from somebody else never happens, cool, I'm Gucci, I'm moving forward, and like that is what it is. But if it does happen from somebody else, that's something that comes along with it, which I'll explain next, which is when we love ourselves, more positive things and beings come into our life. So the law of attraction, like attracts like. So if you're really loving yourself, you're going to bring in people who also love themselves, but also will show you love in the way that you deserve it. Our codependency fades. So we no longer are in need of or relying of others. We just want them in our lives because it's great to have community, companionship, a friend, a partner, whatever it is. Judgment-free vibes and no comparison to others. Wouldn't we all love that? Like, I'm going on a social media fast this next week because I'm still working through not comparing myself. And when we truly love ourselves, we just feel whole and there's no need for comparison. And there's also no need for judgment of others because we then have an understanding of how hard it is to truly love ourselves and how difficult the journey is, but how worth it is. And so we can only extend like grace and support to other people. We become more confident, abundant, positive, and patient with ourselves, which is awesome. And then more, like so many other things happen in our lives that are just positive that I could list, but it really just varies. Oh my gosh, we're getting a lot of, I want to take a moment and look at the definitions coming in before we hop into the next part. So Anna Karen, hey Anna, said, loving myself with the understanding that I'm flawed and forever growing. That's her definition of self-love, and I absolutely love it. Gwen So Bougie. Okay, Gwen, I love that name. Me, myself, and I, Beyonce voice. Yes. Tyler, TC Strat, flaws and all, Beyonce voice. Okay, everybody, let's get onto this Beyonce though. Divine download, filling your own cup in all parts of life. I love that. That's so true. It's about, pouring into yourself. Big Kahuna Rock. Hey, Kahari. Self-love gives you the ability to love others truly. Like when you radiate love, you can only continue to give that to others. And that's so special. Desire to aspire, yes. Exploring the fullness of yourself, reaching acceptance of the good and bad. Yes, that's so true because it's more about acceptance. It's not necessarily about trying to fix things, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It's about, okay, this is the part of myself I'm really not feeling, but I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep loving myself. Bobby said self-love to me is being gracious to myself during times of growth. That's key because if we often extend grace to other people, but are really critical of ourselves. And so it's important to find that balance and making sure that we're extending it to ourselves. So I love that. Derek D. Butler says, I believe it's a combination of self-worth and self-esteem. Great. I hope my definitions resonated with you, but you might have your own definitions of those, but I definitely think it's a combination. And actually all four of those definitions and then some relate to self-love. Christina says self-love equals boundaries. Okay, and we actually are going to talk about boundaries, so stay tuned. August said, oh, Queen Teams, I'm proud. I love it. Thank you. Cool. So I'm glad we all got to share our thoughts on that. Feel free to keep questions coming in the chat as you see fit. There will be time for questions at the end that you can ask me anything, but we'll keep things moving. Okay. So, sorry, I'm losing my slides. We are going to hop in with what I'm calling addressing and altering, the real tea. So this is going to be our activity for today. At first, I originally wanted you all to write a list of all the things that you like or love about yourselves. And I still encourage you to do this, but this workshop is going to be a little bit different. We're going to get to the nitty gritty. Because, there could be a gazillion things that we love about ourselves, but we can still have that one insecurity or that lack mentality that's holding us back on our journeys. When there are things that we don't love about ourselves, we're constantly trying to fix instead of accept. So shout out to y'all who already talked about the key to acceptance. And this activity will help us navigate through letting go of whatever led us to not accept this part of ourselves. So if it's a person or a situation, whatever it is. So let's hop in. This is my journal on my bed. You are going to take, I meant to mention this at the beginning. I totally forgot, but you should have a journal and a pen, piece of paper, a Post-it, your hands, your phone, and your note section, whatever works. Just something that you can write and jot your thoughts down with. So we're going to go through just a couple of prompts. You're going to write a list of all the things you don't like about yourself. And I know it's like, oh, girl, you got me up here at 9 a.m. writing negative things. That's not the point. So like I said, we know there are things, ideally, not everybody, but ideally there's a few things or a lot of things that you love and like about yourself. But today we want to get to the core issues that are holding you back on your journey. And so take a moment and just write those things out. It could be anything. It could be anything about, a physical characteristic, an emotional characteristic, just a personality, what you consider a personality flaw, whatever it is, take some time to write it down. So I'll give us a couple of minutes. And I'm going to do the same. If you can only think of a few things, perfect. If you have a long list, that's fine as well. You know, we're all at different parts of our journeys and our journeys to acceptance. So feel free to keep writing. But what I would like you to do is, at one point of you writing your list, is to select just one thing you want to focus on today. So if there's something that has always been at the top of mind, or you have been kind of obsessing over it and you're like, I need to address this now, that's the one that I want you to select, and you can just kind of circle it, or just make note of it, but feel free to keep writing, and we'll take one more minute on this. Okay, awesome. So next, I really want you all to go intuition when it comes to this exercise. So if you're alone, great. That means you have nobody to influence you. But if there's people that are doing this workshop with you, great. Stay focused on your own thing. You only have to share what you want to share. What's key is that you're not judging yourself. This is about you. And really all I'm doing is just guiding you through this. If you feel triggered when doing this workshop, take a moment, breathe, and move away from it. I don't want to force anybody to unpack something that they don't want to. And I'll talk more about how I usually deal with things that are triggering to me after we're done with the workshop, or after we're done with this portion of the workshop. I want to shout out my friend Stacy, who is the founder of Desire to Aspire mentorship program. She reminded me recently of the importance of mind mapping in regards to connecting my thoughts, or connecting the dots to my thoughts. So shout out to Stacy. Thank you so much. So what we're going to do for this next part of the workshop is to mind map. Mind maps can look a lot of ways. And so I'm going to pull up some examples of what you can do. So I mentioned you can definitely go with some Post-it notes. Some of you all are artists and you got markers and things. You can do that. You can go really simple, or you can also do it digitally. Again, if you just have your phone or an iPad or whatever you're using and you want to just take notes on that, works perfectly fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to really alter the situations that we've experienced. And so one thing before I start on that, I just kind of want to give you all a reminder. So when you're approaching this, is we entered this world perfectly without flaw. Can you imagine that? Because I sometimes wake up and I'm like, have I always been this way? Has my voice always been this annoying? Like things like that. And the truth is we really were free and just so like pure and dope when we were born. And because of outside sources, experiences, influences, whatever, we no longer, or some of us, I won't say all of us, but we no longer feel like we still have that freedom, or like we still are, without flaw. And that's not true. We have the power to change the way the past has impacted our ability to love ourselves in the present moment. And so now we are going to start addressing that one thing about yourself that you selected. We're going to start addressing that now. And so when I mentioned about the mind map, is somewhere, whether it's at the center or at the top of your page, you want to write that one thing that you didn't like about yourself. Then as we start to address these different questions, and again, these are prompts, go with your intuition, what questions you want to address and that you want answered, how detailed you want to go and how deep you want to go on this. You're going to start drawing, whether lines, arrows, bullet points, to connect the dots to what made you feel this way about yourself, if that makes sense. So I think it does. It does. I can't even know if it makes sense, but I'm going with it. So part one, we're going to address. These are some questions that you're going to ask yourself in relation to that thought you had about yourself. What physical discomfort or sensation does this statement cause? If you were to say that aloud, if you're by yourself or if you feel comfortable with whoever you're with, and you say, for example, like, I don't like the way my voice sounds sometimes. If I say that aloud, what physical discomfort or sensation does that cause for me? What emotional feeling is it causing in the present moment? Like, what emotions or feelings are you feeling about that in relation to yourself? When did you first remember feeling this way? Like, this is the real tea. Can you recall a specific moment in time, an interaction, a conversation, a series of events? What age were you? Where were you? Who was involved? These are all questions that I want us to take about, 5 minutes to really kind of answer and mind map, or just journal it out. Like, whatever works for you, do that. But is what we're kind of starting something called inner work, which inner work is addressing like what's going on internally. And then if an issue or situation that you recall is something that stemmed from your childhood, that's inner child work. And what's key on this work is that you are addressing and then you give yourself the comfort that you needed, which is called altering, which will be the second part of this exercise. So feel free to take about 4 to 5 minutes to work on this and mind map it out. And I'll be doing the same on my end. Just a few more minutes. All right, we're going to take one more minute. Okay. Feel free to keep writing if you're getting deep or you're probably like, okay, what's next? So part 2, as I mentioned, is altering. So what's key is that we understand that the situations that we experienced in the past, or even if it's in the present, we can alter the way it's impacting us and kind of release and let go. And trust me when I say, and I'll talk a bit more about letting go, I have never really resonated with the concept of letting go. I'm like, no, we don't always keep this beef or whatever. That is just not good, and it really it drains you. And so part 2 is us discussing how we can alter the situation or series of events or wherever that negative thought about ourselves or the thing we don't like about ourselves stem from, and changing it. So some questions to keep mind mapping, or maybe you just want to journal on this part, to consider are: what hesitation do you have about moving on from the situation? So like really diving deep, like why do you feel an attachment to that situation, and kind of calling yourself out on it? What healing would you like to come from addressing and altering the situation? So how would you like to feel? You can kind of start with the senses, like what senses, what does it smell like to have healing? Like I love doing things like that and kind of thinking about it, because I'm like, ooh, it smells like, I don't know, some Portillo cheese fry. I don't know, whatever it is. Kind of dive into that. What comfort did you need at that moment? So I like to focus on this when I'm going through something in my childhood, like what comfort would I have preferred, or what did I need, both physically or mentally, emotionally, spiritually? What did you need in that moment? And then what would have made the situation better for you? So in addition to the comfort, what else would have made the situation better for you? How would you have preferred it to play out? And you can give yourself that. So this exercise works very well with visualization. So maybe some of you are like, I don't even want to write this down. I just want to play it out in my mind and kind of see how an alternative ending to it, and leave it and be like, okay, that feels good. So we're going to take another 5 minutes or so to kind of work through that and give yourself whatever you wanted. Like a lot of times when I'm doing inner child work, I'm like, I wanted my hair to be taken down and my scalp to be rubbed. And I wanted some ice cream from Baskin Robbins, chocolate chip cookie dough, X, Y, and Z. Like that's how nitty gritty I get, but you give yourself whatever you want. And so, yeah, we'll take a few minutes to just like be with ourselves and write that down. Just a couple more minutes. Someone said this is hard. Yes, it is hard, and I don't know if you're talking about the actual activity is hard. If that's the case, I might need to do better instructions. But it is hard, and it's meant to be hard, and it's not meant to be done just in a span of what we've been working on this for 10 minutes. Not at all. Like a lot of times when I'm doing this, I spend an hour or two, depending on just like how much time I have. And sometimes I revisit situations because, again, especially when there's series of events that occur that lead to us feeling this way about ourselves, we might need to address, and we should address each of those events because they carry on from whenever it started up until the age we are now. And let's cut it off now. Okay, let's end it now. I am going to keep us moving, and I just wanted to to make sure that you know that you have the power to control the situation and you can let it go. And like I said, I am not the best person at letting things go, but I work toward it every day because I know how freeing it can be once you move on from a situation or thing. But I also know that it requires a lot of hard work. And as I mentioned before, a lot of times when I'm doing inner work, it's a combination of me doing visualization and journaling afterward. I just started doing this mind mapping, and it helps it in the moment, especially when I want to quickly jot some things down. But you know what else, guys? And everybody who knows me knows I am an advocate of therapy. So if you need professional help to navigate through these things, I have a trauma-informed therapist that I go to every other week, and she really helps me work through inner work. So I do some stuff on the side, and then I come back to her and I, let her know what realizations I've had, how I've connected the dots. And then she's able to help me talk through it in an unbiased way, and give me some more perspective. Or she also gives me just like language that I didn't have. Like sometimes I go to therapy and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm feeling, but I had figured this out about myself. And she's like, girl, that's called blank. And I'm like, oh, okay, it has a word. So yeah, if you need any resources for therapy, feel free to reach out to me. But I always plug therapy for Black girls and Psychology Today, period, blank. So you're probably sitting here like, so that's it. And I know it seems like such a simple thing, but like I said, keep working at it. Ideally, what I've done is I've gone through the list of all the things I don't like about myself, and I've worked through each of those things. And I continue to work through each of those things. There's some that have kind of diminished over time, but there's some that I'm like, oh no, multiple things happen here, and I need to keep working at it. So this is just one exercise, inner work exercise that you can do. There are plenty others that you can research, or you can check out my YouTube, and I'll continue to like talk about ways that you can do inner work. But we're going to keep it moving with 3 lessons that I've learned during my journey. So number 1 is to drop perfectionism for compassion. So the negative views or things you don't like about yourself typically lead to negative self-talk or just a replaying of this negative situation that caused it. So I'm reading this book called Buddha's Brain right now, and it talks about these many movies that we have in our head and how our brains actually feed off negativity. Like they're more likely to our brains are more likely to attach to negative than positive. And so if we continue to leave things unaddressed, it keeps replaying. And so I realized to stop me from replaying something that could have happened when I was 7, that's just not going to be perfect. And I just have to be compassionate to myself and keep working through it. And, know that it's a journey and it's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. And I'm only going to get through it by being compassionate to myself. Set boundaries with yourself and others. Woo! I am the boundary queen sometimes. I am a people pleaser. And so one of the ways I set boundaries with myself is one by eliminating negative self-talk and calling myself out on it. So I'll just say, there's this practice where you can say, like, if I say, oh, I don't like the way I look today, it's like, I just had the thought that I don't like the way I look today. So it's a detaching it from like being something you actually feel about yourself, like, oh, I don't like the way I look. And it's saying it's a thought, and thoughts come and go. And so that's one of the ways that I set a boundary with myself. And I set a boundary with others by like, people know my day and nighttime routine. So when I'm on FaceTime and I start making my tea and wrapping my hair and getting in the bed and pulling my books and all that stuff, people know, okay, she's going to go to bed. Or, I just block out time for my calendar. I started doing that in college. I would start in my senior year of college, I started setting an hour aside for myself per day. And my roommate at the time, he was like, you going straight to your room and you don't talk to me. And hey, Alex, if you're watching this. And he, I had to tell him, I was like, no, it's not about you. It's really about me. I need this. And I'm putting up this boundary because I don't take time for myself. I'm so involved and I just need a moment. So that's another lesson that I've learned. And then removing negativity. So this one's so key. And I've been talking to a lot of people about it, but addressing negative self-talk is just one way that we can remove negativity, but positivity isn't just in what we say, it's also in what we consume. So based off your own personal definition of self-love, are you consuming, whether that's through food, music, TV, media, whatever, things that are positively impacting you along your self-love journey and like feeding you? Somebody mentioned pouring into yourself. Are those things making you feel good? Are they, keeping you in a positive mind frame and giving you those feelings that you want to have, those feelings of healing and just like true like self-love? If they're not, I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous, but you got to cut them out. It's so crucial. It's just, when we keep negative things around, I told you our brains feed off negativity. And so positivity truly is key. To wrap things up, I just want to talk about why loving on yourself and taking this time to love on yourself is relevant right now as we are, in quarantine. A lot of us, ideally are. But it's so crucial because when we're spending so much time alone, like I live alone, I'm sure a lot of you live alone, or if you don't, you might spend a lot of time alone just because everybody has something going on within your household right now. Think about the dialogue you're having with yourself. Is it negative? Is it positive? Is it, is it loving? And I think it's so crucial to take this time to work on ourselves and to figure that out. And other people, honestly, no pressure. I understand if you're like, girl, I'm just trying to rest. I totally get it. But if you have the time and the capacity to really get to the nitty gritty of some of the things or start, even just journaling out things about self-love and things about yourself. And there's tons of prompts that exist out on Pinterest or just Google, whatever, that I think this is a crucial time to really, really give ourselves the love that we need. Because, a lot of times love for others is connected to human interaction. And if you can't get that right now, you can give it to yourself. Woo! That's all I had, you all. Feel free to ask me questions and share your thoughts and feedback. Connect with me on Instagram at Cassidy. If you type it in, you'll find me. Check out my YouTube. You can reach me at bit.ly/channel8. Also, like I mentioned before, donate to Social Works Prom Fund, y'all. Imagine if you didn't have a prom. I would just be salty. And it's going to be just a good time once it's safe to convene for everyone. And the students deserve it because school is difficult, and but we need to celebrate ourselves. So I am going to open it up for questions, thoughts, feedback, whatever. I'm going to check the chat. We have a few minutes left, so feel free to pop in. Yeah. Oh my gosh, guys, y'all are really going in. Okay. Dominique James. I love Dominique. Hey, girl. Often self-love is thought as one of the 4 things that I defined, but it's making me think that self-love is perhaps a composite of the 4 things you presented. That is awesome. And I think, yeah, they're definitely connected. I think and those are some definitions that I didn't define, are things like self-sabotage, and there's a lot that I didn't define, but I think those are all a part of the self-love journey. Obviously, self-sabotage isn't self-love, but you know what I mean? I think they all connect. And I would love to see a diagram. Maybe I'll work on one that shows how they all connect to the self-love journey. So thank you for that comment. Bobby Woods, I'm about to tell my child, Parker, my little baby, about my boundaries of sleep. Yes, girl. You deserve sleep. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I would love to talk to more parents about what boundaries look like in regards to kids. I don't have kids, so I really don't know, but I can only imagine how important that is to make sure that their well-being is at an all-time high. Your well-being probably has to be at an all-time high. So I appreciate that comment. Bone Noop 1911. That's my dad. I love you too, Dad. What else? Moco Loco Bria on Instagram asks, what comfort did you need in that moment and the preferred way you wished it played out? I wonder when she asked this. I don't know, but if it's comfort, I'll kind of share a little bit about what I've thought about. So when it comes to the comfort that I needed in the moment in regards to like my body image stuff, I think I needed like to not watch TV, and to whoever was my influence at the time, like to just cut off the TV, or to, positively affirm the way I view myself. Like it varies. I don't know if that answers your question, but I figured I'd share some stuff that I wrote down. Okay, let's see. It's so many, guys. Oh yeah, everybody was saying it's a good hard. I need to do this more often. Yes, y'all, like keep working on it. And again, like I said, there's so many activities that you can do. Again, if you have a professional therapist or counselor, social worker, whatever, they can also guide you through some inner work. There's also books and workbooks and things of that nature. And hopefully soon I'll be doing some one-on-one coaching in regards to this. Yes, more people. Oh, C Lucky on IG, I believe, said, I just started doing inner child work with my therapist. This is great, Cass. Yes. Shout out to you, Colleen. That's so awesome. Like I said, a lot of times it is actually easier to do it with the therapist, somebody that can hold you accountable, especially if you're like, okay, I'm meeting with them next week. Like, have I really thought about this? Or just somebody who can explain it for you. It's so essential. Okay, just a few more. TC Strat says perfectionism has to go, a tool of capitalism and white supremacy. Okay, here we go, the real tea. No, that is, she said it all. That's all I'm gonna say. She said it all. Divine download, recovering people pleaser here as well. We're in it together. We are in it together. So I love that. Oh my gosh. Yes, guys. Thank you all. I don't even know. It's so many. Somebody asked me to say more on mind mapping. Mind mapping is really just connecting the dots to different concepts and making sure that you see how it, specifically in the self-love, like the activity that we did before, it's seen based off this view that you have on yourself. And you can do it with positive views too. You can figure out where those stem from, but specifically negative or unkind views of ourselves. Like, where did those come from, and connecting the dots so that when a feeling arises, you know exactly where you can pinpoint that feeling. Yes, thank you, Charlene. Charlene, I don't know how to say it on IG, but she's on here and she said this couldn't have come at a better time. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Ryan, my sister, said, got a completely new understanding about life for real. Everything made sense. Dominique asked, can you talk more about the relationship between independent work and work with your therapist? How do you cultivate that practice? Independent work, therapy, the way I cultivated the practice was exhaustion. I had no energy to do the work on my own. And so I reached out to a therapist and started the work. Now that I've gone through therapy for a year, I now have the energy to do it on my own. That is the last, and I can always ask take more questions via Instagram, but thank you all so much for tuning in. Be blessed, stay safe, and much love.
Social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works. Yeah, S works. Everyone put up their hands. You know it's a vibe. They're waiting in line to get up and flood up the stands. Yeah, we in this together. We feeling like fam. It's all about peace. So pull up with friends. You better come through with you and your crew, cause everybody going in. S works, so we keep it lit. You can see how we move the city from the west side to the east. Ooh, you can feel it how we leave through. It's all about the youth. Change the world through the tunes. Make the world to a better place. And S works what we do.
Social works, social works, social works, social, social works, social works, social works. Social works. Keep my family out the dirt. This organization, we stopping no Satan and open, but we call it works. Action on tailor the killer verses. I doing my foot in my city hurt. They killing our babies, this work going crazy. I pray for my city to reimburse. Running schools for the kiddies. We the city every lady. All I know is it's work. With the heart, keep it busy. Know the life can be tricky, but please just let me finish. Let me just be a witness. S works handle business.
Social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works.
Ready or not, here we come. South side, west side, east side, north side. Up on the run, we ain't for the none. We came in the party, we here for the fun. Celebrate life, the party we young. Sky is the limit, we looking above. We up in the sun, no matter what, we stay on the run. Ha, S work, do your thing. S work, keep it lit. Bullseye, keep your aim. Yeah, we up on the jib. North side, that's the way. Ready or not, here we come. S work, keep the energy. Look, yeah, we never unplug. S work, show some love. Yeah.
social works, social works, social works, social works, social works, social works.